Bringing our man James Ham here, our 1320 Kings insider and host of the Kings Beat and the Locked On Kings podcast.
There he is.
What's up,
What's
Hammer?
happening? What's going on, friends?
James, this product we're gonna watch tonight sucks, man.
No, it doesn't.
It feels, I'm not, I don't, leading the witness. Does it feel glaring to you that it feels like tanking has taken on an entirely new component this year with teams, Utah, not playing guys into the fourth quarter in games that they're winning, soreness injuries being upgraded to ligament damage and all of these like strange things that are happening across the league. Like, it feels really glaring to us right now.
Oh, I think it's super glaring. I don't know. Like watching the Kings up until like maybe a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, I was saying, well, the Kings aren't tanking. They're just bad. They
Mhm.
just keep losing. Now it's like, all right, what are we doing? Like they didn't even take a couple of these guys on the road trip. A couple of them just stayed back like, hey, we're good. So, like, look, I don't know what it means for the second half of the season other than we're going to see a lot of the young players. And that's what I think a good portion of the fan base wants. Although I think that's probably the noisy minority. I think most regular everyday Kings fans, they show up and they're like, hey, where's Domas? Like, why is Zach LaVine not playing? A lot of people, they get there, there are a lot of Kings fans who don't have social media, who don't have Twitter, who don't do all this stuff that we do. And they have no idea why these guys aren't playing. And so there's a murmur and they're like, hey, how come, who is this Daquan Plowden kid and why is he playing? Why is he starting tonight? So, yeah, I think it's a really dark place for the NBA, but also like, look, this is the rules you're playing within. You know that this is how the NBA set up their draft and everything else. And at some point, you got to play within the confines of their rules.
Do you think it is Adam Silver's number one problem right now? This tanking, the integrity of the game, and it's not new. It's something that we've maybe had to deal with for the first time here in Sacramento in a long time to this degree. But I mean, it's probably a 20-year argument that's been going on, and it's something that they've had to deal with for a long time. But do you think this is the integrity of the game aspect of it? Do you think it's the biggest problem that Adam Silver has?
I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest problem is that you've created a culture where it's superstar driven, and those stars gravitate towards huge cities where they have better opportunity for for movies and commercials and endorsement deals and so you've created this, it's a star driven league, and that's kind of how you want your league. That's how they established this league. It was Michael Jordan's league and Larry Bird's league and Magic Johnson's league, and it was a cognitive decision by David Stern to do that. Now the problem is, we fast forward 30, 40 years, and you're seeing sort of what that means. That means that, like, look, a lot of these clubs, like the Kings, they don't have an option to go out and sign free agents. Like the Utah Jazz, they don't have an option to go out and sign a free agent. So, like, amassing talent through the draft, trading that talent to get draft picks, using those draft picks to draft players, but then also when the timing's right, going out and getting the right player to fit your system and to build around, that's kind of the way that teams have to do this. And I think we could point to like the disappointment that a team like Philly had to do this, the process. Philly's a large market. It's a huge market and a huge draw, and people love to play at Philly. They've never had a problem getting free agents or anything else. But when your only avenue to improve is through trade and through the draft, then what do you expect a team like the Kings to do? Go into
Do
the
you
draft and hopefully find a star.
do you guys and I'm not this isn't a James Ham thing. This is a thought process about the NBA that a lot of people share. Is that proven to be accurate. I mean, you're talking about the big markets, the top markets. Who goes to New York? Who goes to Chicago? The Lakers, outside of LeBron, who wanted to live in LA, who's been going to LA for the last 10 years? Anthony Davis, I
Well,
guess.
Anthony Davis
He
did.
wanted to.
Yeah.
Luka didn't want
Yeah.
to. Luka would have stayed. Dallas don't get free agents. Philly don't get free agents. Like the big market type stuff. Giannis has been in Milwaukee for what, 13 years and signed 2 contracts. Dame Lillard was in Portland for 13, 15 years. Like it can be done. And nowadays, people don't even get the free agency. You know, well, we don't even get a true free agency where the best players in the game are open for an open market and go sign them. Joel Embiid was in Philly. Jokic is in Denver. Devin Booker in Phoenix. De'Aaron Fox wanted to go to San Antonio. You know, so the big name city, the biggest free agent that the Knicks were able to get was Jalen Brunson, and they were destroyed for paying him that much money, and it ended up working. But I just talking to you guys, like, is that a misnomer nowadays of like the big markets control everything in the NBA?
Well, I think they do because, you have to, like, when you're going out and making trades and stuff, you have to know whether like a Mikal Bridges is going to sign an extension. And he says, yes, I will sign an extension if I get traded to the Knicks, or, just keep going through the players. It's not just that they go to these big teams, is that they stay with these big teams. So, the NBA has it set up where basically the first 8 or 9 years of your NBA career is going to be with the team that drafted you. It's just, there is a way to get out after 5 years, but even that isn't the easiest route. So most players know that they're going to be with the team for, 8 or 9 years to start their career. And then the money gets too big. And then, that's why they sign that third contract and they're looking around. Okay, like I don't want to be here. So you need to trade me to somewhere else. So I don't know that it's fully working the way that the league had it figured out, but like, I don't know if I'm a player right now, I'm a little leery signing a long-term deal unless I know the build of the franchise I'm with is gonna be there. Because when you sign a deal, even like Keegan Murray, like, Keegan Murray took the money for sure, but he took the money thinking that this was gonna be a good spot, that this team, won 40 games last year, but there's a bounce back, there's potential for a bounce back. Now he's looking like, "Man, I don't even have my contract, my 5-year 140 kick in until next year when this team is gonna be equal to or worse than they are today." And that's tough. So, yeah, I do think, Kenny, that most of the bigger market teams, they do have an easier time drawing talent. And it's not even like top tier that the Kings can't draw. It's at next tier too, where, like you talk about Philly. Philly was easily able to go out a few years ago and sign a Tobias Harris, who was, a guy averaging 20 something a game, or they trade for him and then signed him to a deal. But like, there are definitely players that gravitate towards bigger cities.
Miami ain't got nobody in I don't know how long. They got Jimmy Butler.
Well,
one
I
free agent
think they've handcuffed themselves cap wise because of guys that they've drafted like Bam, Tyler, so on. I read something today, like they're going right back after Giannis this offseason. Dame wanted to go there. Like, players want to go there. It's not just where guys go as free agents. Yeah, it's not just where guys go. I think it's not just where guys go as free agents, because there's so much. It's so much more limited when you're just leaving one team going to another and signing a contract. It's when you're in the trade market and it's like, well, I want to go to New York. I want to go to,
I think,
Miami, whatever.
I think the bigger issue is geography. And this is why I say, like, maybe you don't do this East Coast, Eastern Conference, Western Conference thing with the playoffs, because nobody goes to Chicago. Nobody really goes to New York. Nobody really goes to Boston. Like, they got the guys that they're drafted, and an Al Horford type guy.
But what's the geography you're referencing? Like weather?
Everybody want to go to Phoenix, Texas, Miami, LA. Like, and that's why the West is always the West. And it's all we've been talking about this for 25 years. Remember when the The Nets were going to the finals, and they're like, man, the East is so bad, but it'll balance out. It is never balanced out, and there's no sign of it balancing out again. And I think that's one of the issues with the discrepancy between the Eastern Conference
I
and the
mean,
Western
KD
Conference.
left Brooklyn. Like
He
he
did
was
go to
in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Kyrie went
Kyrie
there
too. Yeah, Harden. We just run through the whole list of guys that were there, but
Yeah. And I do think, like, you talked about the Lakers, but gotta remember that the whole Paul George, Kawhi Leonard thing, that was they wanted to go meet up in sunny LA. It's with the Clippers, but still, I do think that larger markets still have an advantage. And like I don't know what that means for the Kings moving forward. Like the best free agents they've ever signed in the 40 plus years they've been here in Sacramento are Vlade Divac and George Hill and probably Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan. That's it. Like, and some of those are sign and trades and stuff like that, but still signing with the team is still part of it. It's tough. It's tough to get teams. The best way to lure talent though to come play for you is to be stable and to be good. And I think that that's why stability matters in the NBA and choosing a lane and sticking to it. That matters because people want to gravitate somewhere where they feel like they don't have like the weight of what De'Aaron Fox felt, which was, 16 years of ineptitude when it's like, hey, I've only been here for like 6 of those years. And like the other 10, they're not on me, but a lot of players feel it.
1320 Kings insider James Ham with us here on Dealing with KC. Hammer, you brought up DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan was visibly frustrated, and those clips were making the rounds on social media over the last 48 hours or so. What did you think of DeMar's very open reaction to the way that basketball team was playing the other night?
Oh, I think I think it shows like signs of life. I mean, that's something that I think fans want to know, that their veteran players are frustrated, that they're not happy with the way that this is going, that even if it's within a game, you're not happy with the way it's happening. And I'll also point out, like, hey, for those of you out there who, have the a way to do it, like subscribe to the Sacramento Bee, because having Jason Anderson there to ask the questions was actually a really good thing. And the fact that, we don't have that there's only one person who travels to cover this team and ask questions, it does matter. And so, like support your local guys for sure. But at the same time, like I get the frustration, especially when losing is one thing, which, the Kings have done nonstop here. They've lost 13 in a row, but it's losing without playing hard. It's losing without a soul that I think got under DeMar's skin. And, he gets it that there are going to be a lot more losses than there are wins in the second half here. But losing that way, where you just, again, get beat in transition again and again and again. And it didn't matter whether it was a loose ball, live ball turnover, or it was them just rebounding and outrunning you down the court. Nobody stopping ball, nobody stopping the man running around everybody and going right to the basket for alley oops. Like DeMar DeRozan knows what bad basketball looks like, and to be honest, that was an embarrassment for everybody involved. It's one thing to play young guys and to try hard with young guys. It's another thing to not follow basic NBA or basic basketball tenets like getting back on a fast break.
Felt bad for him. Felt bad for him. And look, can't feel too bad for him because I don't know if he was given the option to take the buyout or take less guarantee and he could go play somewhere else. I don't know about that. But regardless of what that situation is, he goes out there and he plays hard every night. And the frustration was something that obviously we could all see. And I felt bad for him in that respect. So hopefully whatever was the issue with the Kings the other night, that's not the issue moving forward. Like if they just lose because they're not good enough, that's one thing. But if it's an effort thing, if it's not staying focused and locked in for DeMar's sake, for Doug Christie's sake, for all these guys, hopefully that's not the issue moving forward.
Yeah, I talked about it last night on Locked On too. Like you guys have known like the entire time. I'm not a fan of the brand of basketball that DeMar DeRozan plays. Like, because the Kings had a motion offense and then they brought in an ISO player and like oil and water, like instantly. Like it just did not work at all. And you're like, oh, okay, this is just a bad fit. But like, look at the injury report for tonight, and it's Russell Westbrook out, Domantas Sabonis out, Keegan Murray out, DeAndre Hunter out, Malik Monk out, Zach LaVine out. The one name that's missing off that list is DeMar DeRozan. He's played in all 57 games this season. Like, he's just going out there and doing his job, and again, it's not going well, but he appreciates the fact that he gets to still play NBA basketball, and he has a responsibility on the court to go out there and play hard and to do what he has his entire career. And so I've gained a tremendous amount of respect for him just for the way he's conducted his business. Because look, a lot of these guys aren't conducting their business that way behind the scenes. Out there on the court, they're not. And at least you've got one or two that you can say, hey, look, he gets it, and he's going out there and playing to a standard, whether it's Doug Christie standard or Sacramento Kings standard, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. He's still playing to a standard that's a very high end standard, and it's believable. It's not like him going out there and just stat padding. And so I appreciate DeMar, and the way that this season's worked out for him is pretty crappy in year 17. Like, he knows that Father Time is coming for him, and he doesn't have a bunch more of these years in him. And to just waste a season like this, it's got to be killing him. And that's why, like, again, if I'm DeMar, like, go have a honest conversation with Scott Perry. Go say, hey, look, like, what does it take for me not to be here moving forward? Like, how much money do I have to give back out of the 10 million I'm owed next season in order for you guys to let me walk right now? And I guarantee you it's not going to be nearly as much as people think. And he can go and play somewhere else if he wants. And I would, like, to be honest, I would encourage him to do that. It would be a good move for him to not be here and play this thing out, because it's not like this is going on his NBA gravestone. But you go choose the right team right now, you might go get to play for a chip. And it doesn't matter if you're a guy joining the team late. If you help the team, you help the team. And he has until March 1st to not be on this roster. And then after that, as long as he signs with a team before the end of the season, he's still playoff eligible. But it's that March 1st deadline that he has to be waived by the current team. Like, if I'm him, I'm at least having a conversation with my family, and having a conversation with my agent, saying, hey, any chance the Lakers want me? Any chance that there's a team out there that wants me? Because I'd love to go finish this season and see what we got. So we'll see.
How likely do you think that is? Scott Perry, I don't even know if insinuated is the right word. I feel like he flat out said in his post-trade deadline press conference that there are no buyouts coming, that this is the group that will play for the rest of the year with the Sacramento Kings. Do you think there is something that could change that?
Yeah, I mean, I asked that question of Scott during the press conference. Like, is this a team? Are you going to buy some of these veterans out? And like, look, I think most of the veterans, so people know, it doesn't help you to buy out Russell Westbrook or Drew Eubanks or Doug McDermott. Their contracts are league minimum deals. And so you would be saving so little money that it wouldn't even really matter. The Kings are right at, I think it's $1,069,000 under the luxury tax right now from my math. And so they don't have a bunch of money to go out and sign someone. If they waive a player at this point and don't save any money on that contract, they only have enough. They have to have 14 players under contract. So they would have to backfill that position, and they would have to find a player that would make less than $1 million. And so again, that can be a league minimum contract for sure. But we just saw it with Dylan Cardwell. When Dylan Cardwell got signed, he got signed for $871,000 for the rest of the season. So here we are, maybe 2 or 3 games later, that number might be down to like, $810,000 or something. But you can see how they're so tight against the luxury tax that even unless they cut a player who makes a lot of money and that player says, hey, I'll give back $5 million this year, then they don't have any money to play with. And it's just a difficult situation to be in.
James, do you think my prevailing thought when the DeAndre Hunter deal happened and all this other stuff was, oh yeah, they're they're going to move some guys. They're going to get guys off the books because they don't want to be a second apron team or a tax team or anything else like that. Do you think that's how this is going to play out? Because I thought there were more deals coming this trade deadline to kind of ensure that they wouldn't be. Obviously, nothing happened. And now you're playing a dangerous game of chicken going into this summer with guys that you deem completely unmovable with being a tax team with this squad. That'd be crazy.
Well, you have to remember though that like 15 million of DeMar DeRozan's contract is non-guaranteed. So they can just say, "Hey, we're waiving you," and then pay the 10 million bucks and he gets to walk, right? So that's one option to get lower on the tax. I had conversations around the team when they made this move, and the prevailing thought was, okay, like just get your calculator out and do the math. Dennis Schroeder was set to make like $14.8 million next year as a mid-level exception. Basically, that's what his contract was set at. And everyone believed that Keon Ellis was going to make between 10 and 12 million bucks a year, right? So they basically said, well, we just traded for Hunter, who basically makes what we would have had to pay between Dennis and the contract that we would have had to pay Keon. So we traded that 26 million for a $26 million player as of paying those other two players 26 million. Now look, they've got a lot of work to do between now and, next season to get lower and lower their tax bill and get below the tax. But I do think that there are ways you can do it. And there when we get closer to, the start of free agency, when we get closer to the draft and stuff, we're gonna see more movement from teams around the league. And the Kings hope to be part of that. They hope to be part of it, the group that maybe collects a first round pick for this year's draft. Just they didn't do it in February. They did it, in June, right before the draft happens. And so I still think that there are ways that you can improve this roster. And remember that teams that are out there right now that maybe are like 13, 14, 15 seeds, what if they finish strong and all of a sudden they're 20th? They're the number 20 pick in this year's draft after the draft lottery. And they look at their pick and go, well, the pick lost some value. Maybe we would make a trade for player X or player, Y and take on some other contract that we wouldn't have done in February because we thought our pick might be better. So they're always like everything's changing all the time in the league, and that's what you have to kind of keep your eye on. Like, how do the Kings fit into an always evolving landscape?
Hammer, the game we saw on Monday versus the Pelicans felt a lot closer to what we're going to see moving forward from the Sacramento Kings. I know the Clippers game was fun. I know the Cavs game was fun. I know Kings fans felt some life there and thinking like, oh, we get to watch these young players get out there and figure things out. Man, we could really, man, this might not be, go out there, compete and lose. Go out there, compete and lose. And I think, unfortunately, Hammer, there's going to be more games where you go out there and you don't compete and you lose. Like the game we saw on Monday versus the Pelicans. I think we're going to see a lot more of those than anything we saw against the Clippers or the Cavs this weekend.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. It's very possible that it is. But, I mean, when you're going out there with young players at every position, it's a problem. Like the
And that goes
inconsistency
back
of
to what
player.
we were talking about Monday is evaluating all of this.
Yeah, yeah. And it's tough even to evaluate some of these players. Like just because they're getting more minutes doesn't mean that the minutes are in the right situation. I watched the other night and our friend John Bull put out a note on Blue Sky of, here comes Devin Carter and watch the plus minus. And they put him in the game and it was instant. It was like in the first minute and a half, it was in -3. And then you turn around as a -6 and then a -10 and -12. And you're just watching it stack up the second he walks in the game. And it's fine. You want to point fingers at Devin Carter, but at the same time, the other guy that was playing with Devin, unfortunately, for him was Dylan Cardwell. And so you're watching Dylan Cardwell's box score look,
Minus
it's plus
23 and
minus.
minus 22.
Yeah, it ends up like looking like, oh my gosh, they're horrible. They're so ineffective. They're just bad players. It's like, no, sometimes it's with who you're playing with. And that goes for both Devin and Dylan in that situation. It's possible Devin Carter plays with Max Reno and he doesn't run that negative. It's possible that, Dylan Cardwell runs with Russell Westbrook. He doesn't run that negative, but we won't know because they played together and whatever they had going wasn't working at all. And so it's always like a very difficult thing to manage, like what it is we're supposed to expect here. But what I do think that we have seen is going specifically to Friday and Saturday is a group of players that were playing hard. And that's all at this point, I think, is people who cover the team, is people who are paying for tickets and stuff. I think that's all you can expect. Like, just go out there and show me that you care. Show me that you're trying to end this losing streak, and not that this is, something that is fully 100% intentional.
I really think they should abolish plus minus. Just if there's anything that we've been doing this show 5.5 years. Is there anything that gets me more upset than when people bring up plus minus?
No.
It angers me. It really does. It's a bad word.
Drake disrespect.
It's a bad word. As a matter of fact, on NBC's broadcast, they have that on the stat line. Like, oh, Caruso now has 13 points on 5 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. He's a +8. Oh boy, I almost, like the Super Bowl people, they throw stuff at the TV. I almost did that.
Why are you, James, are you a pro plus minus guy?
I think sometimes it matches the eye test and you can look at it and go, oh boy, that fully matches the eye test. I think other times, I think the danger of it is sample size. Like, one game is not enough. What you realistically need is like 15 games. And even then, you probably need more than that. And then you have to start relating who's playing with who. And is it, again, is it Malik Monk's fault that he's playing with a second unit that maybe isn't doing well every single time they step on the floor? Or is it the fault of the players that he's with? And those are always, it's a much deeper question. But I do think there are times where you watch a game and you're like, oh boy, they put that player in the game and it all spun out instantly. And I do think, like, box plus minus, offensive, defensive box plus minus, watching how a player impacts a game when he's on the court versus when he's off the court. I mean, it does help. But again, you need a much larger sample size than one game.
It makes people lazy.
So, but I want to ask you though, because I wanted to hear him, and I also wanted to say, if you're watching, just watch out for securing the Carter's remarks, because he didn't hear what James said, and he is furious that Ham brought up plus minus with Devin because he didn't actually hear what James said, and he's going crazy over there in the chat, and it's kind of hysterical. So securing, keep at it. Why do you hate the stat so much?
Because it makes people lazy.
No, but tell me what it is about the stat that
because you attribute team success or lack thereof to one individual. And you use that and usually it's used to determine whether or not that individual is good at basketball, they did their job or not. Like, I can sit down with somebody and Devin Carter's was minus 23 or whatever, and we could watch Devin Carter's play, and I can go in there and say, after watching it, I watched all his possessions. He didn't do anything wrong. His defensive rotations were on point. He made the nice extra pass. He might have went 0 for 1 from the field or something like that. But watching the game, understanding what you're watching, and saying, well, Devin Carter didn't do anything wrong, but he's got a minus 20, and people label that as, oh, he was an issue. And that's the narrative around the stat.
That's fair.
Is the issue.
But what if you're a slightly better thinker than that? Let's say you're a basketball player. The game ends and you get the box score. It's a game your team lost by 3. And you look at the box score and you see you were +9 when you were on the floor. You don't think there's something to take away from that? Or a game that your team loses by 4, but you were -17 or -13. You don't think there's anything to take away from that?
I'm sure if you're watching, and once again you're diving into things, you can take I'm not trying to dismiss, but you could take something out of anything, right? But if I was +9 and I was 0 of 6 with 4 turnovers, I can't look at that +9 like I played well, like I contributed or did my job. I just happened to be with the other guys who picked up from my bad play.
It feels like that scenario is incredibly unrealistic. I mean, I could be wrong. It just doesn't feel like that doesn't work.
If I was on the
maybe that's a Draymond Green stat line when he's with Steph.
Just hypothetically, if I was on the floor and I was 0 of 3 from the field and I turned the ball over 3 times, but I'm out there with SGA and he had 22 in the fourth quarter, I probably have a plus next to my name, right? I didn't play well.
Mm-hmm.
I missed my shots. I turned the ball over, but I'm playing good defense. So maybe that's what kept me on the floor during that time. I don't know, but I didn't do much, but my plus is probably like +11 because SGA carried the load. And there are times, like James said, where it does match up with the eye test. Like this guy played bad and he's a -18. You know what I mean? But that's when I say, well, I'll just use my eyes. I don't need the plus minus. I saw that he didn't play well. That's all.
Yeah, and even I mean, look at the game the other night. The other night, like of all the starters, what Russ was a -2. That's it, right? I think everybody. And if you think he played well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
he played great, James.
Taking 17 shots in 21 minutes, like that's not what this should be about. Like
this has to be the most threes Russ has taken in his career. In a season, he has taken so
per
many.
game, probably is.
Yeah, he has taken so many. The marathon continues here with our 1320 Kings Insider and host of the Locked On Kings podcast. It's our man James Ham. We're dealing with KC on KIFM, West Sacramento, KRX, QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app, live on iHeart Live, smart speakers everywhere, 1320 AM, 98.5 FM, HD2 as well. Hammer, it's the Kings and the Jazz tonight, or at least some version of that. It's February 11th, man. Like, and we're talking Daquan Plowden minutes, like big time Daquan Plowden minutes. Do you have things that you look for on a night-to-night basis with this team right now, or do you just sit down with your laptop open and go, all right, let's just see what happens?
I think like sitting down and writing 6 quick thoughts, it's always extremely helpful to like formulate your thoughts because I'm watching for 6 things are either good or bad from a game and how they stand out. And so that's kind of how I'm like my process of what I'm watching. And, you know, again, I think if we go back, rewind to the last game, it's like there are positives you can take from a game like that. You know, Max Reynaud is a guy who has been very soft as a rebounder. And he goes out there and had 20 boards. And then, of course, they took a board away from him after the game and dropped him to, 21 and 19. Like, that was something that I didn't think we would see this season. That just like I didn't think we'd see Neat Clifford score 30 in a game. It's happened now. Now expectations start to evolve. And again, it's like, okay, Max, how many double-doubles can you get down the stretch? Because we know you're not good as a defender. You're trying to get better and all that stuff. But what you are good at, I need you to see. I need to see you get better at that. I need you to get better at scoring around the rim. I need you to get better at blocking shots or better at scoring, better at grabbing rebounds. These are things that you can start to see that, like, look, they get it. I think it's also like it also teaches that you got to watch for players who are wildly inconsistent. Like if let's just say that Neat Clifford is a guy who some point is going to average 20 points a game. I don't think he is. But what I don't want to see is him score 30 one night and 10 the next, and then 30 and then 10 and then 10 and then 30. Like, man, you have got to level this thing out. Like, it's okay to have 15 and 25, and then you start to narrow that gap how you got to 20. But you need to show me that you can be more than just like blind luck on one night where shots fell. And so it's something that, you know, as you get stronger and you're you're trying to work through what has been a very disappointing season. That's what I start to key on. Like again, Daquan Plowden had a great first game. His second game wasn't good at all. And so now it's like, hey man, I need you to show me that whatever that first game was, it's closer to who you are than the second game. And that's how we're going to have to judge a lot of these players throughout this season, in my opinion. And, hopefully it works out where they start having better, more consistent games where, again, like at Devin Carter, we're seeing less and less of the confusion on the court when he's out there. Like, hey man, stop running over and trying to take the ball from Neat Clifford. He's got this set. Like, go ahead and run some other thing. Go stand in the corner or go get ready to come off a screen or something. But what you're not supposed to do is go stand by him at the top of the key. And all of a sudden you have two defenders standing there guarding the ball. And so those are sort of the mistakes and stuff that you need to see these players grow through. And I don't blame Devin. I mean, he hasn't been there. He hasn't been able to play. I mean, this is the first time in his career he's played 20 or more minutes 4 games in a row. And
Wow.
so you got to give him an opportunity to make mistakes, to get better, to get worse, whatever it's going to be. But we also have to start seeing like a baseline, and the good game and the bad game don't look like a completely different player.
James, you would know this as well as anybody, but I- I'm assuming the Kings haven't had a whole lot of practice time as of late. It feels that way for the entire season, but as of late, on the other side of the All-Star break, does that pick up a little bit more as far as having the ability to get in practices? And I only say that specifically for these young guys because now taking on a different role, learning how to work with each other in practice might help what they do in the game. So do you think they'll have more opportunities in the schedule to practice a little bit more?
Actually, I think they'll practice less,
Oh,
and
great.
they'll do
Fantastic.
more film study. They'll do more walkthrough. But I mean, there's a reason for that because I mean, look at where Max Reno is as far as games played. Is he at 49 games played right now? 49, 50? So he's already finished his entire college career, his entire college season, and now he's 20 games in to another season.
Mm,
And so, some of these young guys, because they are being asked to play a whole bunch of minutes, they're going to start falling apart. And it's
Mm.
you hope that they're able to hold on, but that's why you hit the rookie wall. That's what happens. You start to run out of energy and all that stuff. And so as of right now, the Kings have not been practicing a bunch. And even you could hear Keon Ellis talk about it, like we didn't really practice like this season. And Mike Brown had this policy that they were going to practice every single day. I think Doug Christie's practices are much shorter and much lighter on the players, trying to preserve them for gameplay. It hasn't helped at all because these players have been injured all season long. But also, like if you were listening to some of his post game when they were on the road, they didn't get to practice at all on the road on that long road trip all the way through January because of the weather. Like they weren't able to get gyms, they weren't able to, move around cities or get there early enough to do stuff. And so there has been a huge reduction in sort of on court game action. And again, like normally if you're a good team and all of your starters, all your veterans are playing major minutes, the young guys are sitting over there, playing pickup afterwards with just the young group of players and then some of the assistant coaches and training staff and stuff like that. That's how they're trying to stay fresh. Well, those dudes are out on the court every single night now, and some of them are playing more minutes than they ever played at the college level, and looking around like, boy, I don't know what's going on here, but they love it because they're getting an opportunity, but also they're going to wear out just because they have not been through the rigors of NBA seasons like this and all the travel and everything that comes with it.
That's a tough tightrope to walk. Um, Not practicing, preserving legs, all of that. And then, I know the number is 47. That's how many games Max has played. Like, I know, but this is your life now.
yeah.
You got to push through this. You got to get out there and work. I understand in the case of, DeMar DeRozan, if you were playing DeMar, Levine, probably to a certain degree, Domantas Sabonis, Russell Westbrook on a nightly basis, that's where you manage practice really, really closely.
Mhm.
But these other guys, especially the first year players, it's like, no, this is your life now. You've got to get used to it. And we've got to find a way to get better. Um, and it's the thing we were talking about. It's the conversation that goes into next year's head coach, whether it's Doug Christie or someone else. Do you know how to coach young players? Do you know how to coach veteran players? Because there is a distinct difference in coaching those two. And I don't know the answer. Like I don't know the answer to any of that. Like I feel like Doug is doing a really good job with these young guys. Is there one Hammer through the course of this god awful season of these young players that's really really surprised you?
As far as the young guys?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's clearly Dylan.
Mm.
Like watching a kid who, didn't do anything in 5 years at the college level. I think he played in 166 games. And in all of those games, he had 4 times where he had 10 rebounds or more. And right now, I think he's at 9 at the NBA level. Like, I've never seen a player who wasn't a rebounder in college and get dinged for not being a rebounder at the college level, come into the pro game, and all of a sudden is not just a rebounder, he's a beast. And everyone's going, "Holy cow." Like, they literally found one. And it's just weird that, he went unnoticed for so long. And, it's one thing to, go to a school like Auburn and they're bringing in, 1 or 2 top tier talents every year that are going to get the bulk of the shots and the bulk of the attention. But to basically be there for 5 years and never stand out as somebody who could perform at like an extremely high level. I mean, you can look at his stats. There aren't a lot of games where he played more than 15 minutes. And all of a sudden here he is at the pro level going out there and grabbing double figure rebounds in almost every single game. We're now expecting him to get 10 or 12 rebounds off the bench playing 20 to 24 minutes a night. Like his rebound per minute mark is just crazy. So that's the player. And the other thing I'll just continue to say, like, he came into the league, he didn't have a jump hook at all, and we watched him hit a jump hook over Brook Lopez on Friday night against Clippers. Just went right up and over the top of him with confidence. He didn't have a floater. You can go back and watch his college stats. Again, he averaged 5 points a game and, was a bad free throw shooter, and like almost every shot he made at the college level was a dunk. And then you watch him hit a floater in the lane. So I think what we're seeing is the evolution of a player that, for whatever reason, had kind of like just taken his role and maybe played to it too much and just said, okay, well, this is who I'm going to be. And now he's just like this gigantic 6'11" moldable piece of clay. And you're trying to figure out who and what he's going to be. But as long as he is Dylan Cardwell and the player we see right now, he's going to be in the league for 10 years at a minimum. And he's going to keep making money and beating people up. And you found a real one. So he's the one that I would say. And then again, number 2, I think, is Max. Again, the defense has been all over the board, but the offense, man, he is so incredibly talented around the rim. And, the last one would be Neek Clifford, but I think Neek has got more, I want to say, more opportunity early than the other guys and wasn't ever able to really establish himself until we're starting to see him establish himself now a little bit. But he has to clean up the inconsistencies because I think the other 2, realistically, for what they do, they've been more consistent with what they do on the court than Neek Clifford has been.
The Dylan Cardwell story is crazy.
Mm.
It really is crazy, man. Like James just pointed out, for him to do statistically a whole lot of nothing at Auburn, and for him to get to the NBA. And I know I was very dismissive of him in summer league. I saw one jump hook. I was like, why are we messing around with this guy? Like, he don't need to be out there. But when he got to the NBA season, immediately it was like, oh, that's the Kings can use that. Like, whether it was a block shot, whether it was an aggressive rebound, whether it was a rim run, it was like, oh, they could use that immediately. And for it to not be on anybody's radar while he was in college, and then the second he gets into the real NBA games, for it to, just kind of be on full display, that is amazing. I don't feel like we've had one of those, at least here in Sacramento, maybe ever. Michael Animal Smith, is that maybe the last time something like that happened?
Yeah. Yeah. And even that, I mean, the per 36 numbers on Cardwell, like if he were to play 36 minutes, we're talking about 9.2 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 steals, and 2.9 blocks per game per 36. And over 21 games, he's averaging 7.6 rebounds in 21 minutes a game. Like, that's crazy. That's a rebound, like, less than one every 3 minutes he's on the court. And he's become like this crazy rebounding dude. So yeah, really good to see.
I love Dylan.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. He's definitely been the biggest crowd favorite over the course of the
Yeah.
season. Yeah, like he is instant energy. He's someone that people are. It's real easy to cheer, and I think part of it is too. Like he's an undrafted kid, like he's an undrafted free agent, and you can root for that type of person. Like it's different than Devin having good minutes right now because Devin was a lottery pick, and whether fair or not, Devin's playing really, really well the last handful of games. But what he's doing is going to be judged differently than what Dylan Cardwell is doing, or even Maxime Renault, a second round pick. You know, because expectations for a lottery pick are a lot different than those other two guys.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Dylan is outplayed any expectations that anyone could have had. And I think the other cool thing about watching Dylan play is that you see how he will work with just about any lineup that you throw on the court moving forward. So every team in the league needs a rim runner, they need a defensive player, they need a shot blocker, they need a rebounder, whether it's as a starter or off the bench. I don't know what Dylan's going to be. I think realistically it depends on how the rest of the team develops around him. So, again, if you can get 4 top tier scores and start Dylan Cardwell at the 5, that's totally fine. But if not, if he's an anchor off the bench, your defensive anchor off the bench, I do think that there are ways in which, you can see him mixing and matching with just about any lineup moving forward. And in today's modern NBA, there are going to be games where maybe he gets played off the court like Gobert does. But I also watch how Doug Christie's managing this, and he talks about it the other night. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to stick Dylan Cardwell on a guard, and you know what? It might not work, but I have to at least see if it'll work, and I have to at least push him to get better, and maybe it will work someday. But if there does come a point where we're getting better and I want to leave him on the court, I am going to need him to be able to be switchable and play 5 positions or at least 4 positions. And the fact that Dylan is showing that he might be able to stay with some of these guys is just absolutely remarkable. And again, you wouldn't know it unless you tried it. And that's what this season's about. It's about saying, okay, look, the wins and losses don't matter, but trying new things and not just trying new things as in player combinations or giving a kid minutes, but trying things like that where you're asking him to defend way out of his position. It could matter down the road. And that's why this is important time that, again, a lot of fans, they might tune out for the last 27 games or 26, whatever. I don't even know. I haven't been counting. But that's okay. I mean, like, there is still a tremendous amount of growth that we could see from these players between now and the end of the season, and certainly a punch list for this summer that they'll have to work on.
James, I'm going to ask you this question. We're going to ask you this question a bunch of times until June, but that's just the nature of the beast. Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsta, some of the things that have gone on with Darren not finishing games, not being able to play games, even though he's the consensus number 1. If you were the Sacramento Kings and you had the number 1 overall pick, would you be worried about the way his freshman season has gone at Kansas?
Yeah, I think everybody has to, right? I also worry about the amount of influence from outside from him because it feels like that's another issue. It's like, hey, he's not going to play. No, we've seen enough of him, but he's not going to play anymore. And they did that a lot with like Victor Wembanyama. When he was coming up through, in France, it was like, hey, we're not going to keep running him out there. We're going to err on the side of caution, and maybe that's what they're doing. But to me, it certainly puts question marks because when he does play, he's absolutely incredible, and you just want more. And then to have him either sit out the second half or sit out the next game or sit out against top tier opponents, the whole time you're like, okay, what exactly are we doing here? So there's some frustration there. I also, when you look at him versus Devonta, he's just so much further along as a prospect. I mean, he looks like a 25-year-old, out there as an 18-year-old. Like everything that he does is so mature and so like refined. And then you look at Devonta, and half the time it's a hot mess. But man, is it fun because he's got all the tools and he has all the confidence. And you can see where like 3 years from now, he might be one of the better players in the league. But it's going to be a really tough thing to judge the whole time. And I think, again, if you land the number one pick at this point, it would be really tough to draft anyone other than Peterson because you're looking at a guy who looks like a superstar at the next level. The other guys might get to superstar status, whether it's, Boozer or Devonta or Wilson. But that Peterson, if he's healthy, is going to be incredible at the next level. And that's where it's kind of tough.
I want to continue this Peterson DeMonster conversation because we saw AJ last night in play. So remember that. But I do, Hammer, I want to ask you because we're seeing some weird things in the association. The Trae Young situation, he was traded for over a month ago. He hasn't played for Washington yet. There's speculation he won't. Rick Carlisle's kind of set the table for Zubac not stepping on the floor for the Indiana Pacers this year. We know what time it is for a team like the Indiana Pacers. We know what time it is for a team like the Washington Wizards. We also know that Keegan Murray won't be reevaluated until after the All-Star break. Is there a chance that Keegan Murray's season is over?
I don't think so. No, I think, to be honest with you, I think Keegan's going to be the guy who plays the whole second half of the season with a lot of these other guys out. He's barely played at all this year. I mean, he's had multiple injuries that have kept him out of tons of games. And even this injury here, they gave him an extra 2 weeks here. Like this is over what is typical for this injury. This is a 4 to 6 week injury. With the injury happened on January 5th, and he was like first put out on January 6th. So by the time he plays, we're going to be at the end of like 6 weeks, and he should be beyond 100% healthy. I think, look, if you're trying to establish who you are moving forward and this culture and this standard and all this stuff that we hear, it's got to be about Keegan. It's got to be about him being the guy who's going to be your next big thing, and you're going to try to prove him up. And I think you want to see him with DeAndre Hunter. You want to see him with guys like Meek Clifford. You want to see him grow and see how he looks with Max and Dylan, and see if you can actually put together a defensive lineup for once. With Meek and with Cardwell and maybe Devin Carter and Hunter and Keegan. So I think there's so much you can learn by getting Keegan back on the court, where again, you're not going to learn anything by putting Zach LaVine back on the court or Domas back out on the court at this point. That's who they are. We know exactly who they are as players. And it's just, there's no reason to keep pushing that envelope right now.
Yeah, like Damian pointed out, it feels like anything is in play with the way the NBA is going.
And Hammer mentioned the multiple injuries. That's part of why I wondered. Like, I know he hasn't played, but part of me did wonder, maybe he shouldn't. Maybe this season for Keegan is just cursed. Like, let's.
How many games has he played? Like,
that's a great question. I don't know the answer.
No, it might be more than 20. No, less than
20. I don't think so.
I'd be surprised if it was more. Keegan Murray has played, count it, 19.
Count it.
19 games.
And what's Domas at?
Point.
Domantas Sabonis.
22.
Domantas,
that's a
less.
Not a
19.
Oh man.
Domantas
one and one.
And Keegan Murray have both played 19 games this year.
And almost never together.
No, they've never played once together.
No, not once. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, of those 19 games, how could you both play 19 games and neither one of you have been on the court at the same time? It's just totally bizarre.
Incredible.
Yeah. Oh, and I see this. Go get Sohan here in the chat. Yeah, Jeremy Sohan. They're gonna release in San Antonio, and he's gonna become an unrestricted free agent. It's a real shame that the Kings don't have the ability to pick him up off waivers. They just don't because they're at the luxury. I mean, they could go over the luxury tax, I guess. And I want to clear one other thing up on that note. Someone said, "Oh, well, if they waive someone, then you get that money back." It's like, no, the only way you get money back if you waive somebody is if they take less money in the buyout. So again, let's just say that somehow DeMar DeRozan's making 24.5 million and goes, "Hey, I'll take 4.5 million less if you guys will let me go now." That's not going to happen, but I'm just giving you an example. Your luxury tax and your salary cap would go down by that amount, and you could use that money to go sign someone else. A league minimum player, there's just not enough money in it. So if you just buy someone out and pay their salary, so it's a $10 million, you pay their $10 million salary, that still counts towards your books. If you get them to take less money, then that's how you could actually open up cap space.
Hammer, great stuff, friend. Go gear up for however you possibly can for Kings Jazz basketball live from Utah. Yeah, head over to the bar, James. Head over to that bar right in front of you and get ready for Kings basketball tonight.
Yep. Tough.
We appreciate you, man. That's
Thanks,
James
guys.
Ham,
Take care, Hammer.
host of the Locked On Kings podcast, and of course, our 1320 Kings Insider. We'll come back.